Hello again, and welcome to the Master's Voice. I'm Celestial, and you're welcome to this channel. To old and new subscribers alike, you are very welcome. The Master's Voice is an audio and a visual resource, so you're welcome to follow on my various podcasts, such as Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, while it's still open. There's also SoundCloud and Spotify. I have alternate channels that have a few more videos that I can no longer host here, usually videos concerning the pandemic period that we were in. It's so shocking. It's nearly 4 years ago or something like that. And those can be found on BitChute, Rumble, and Brighteon. There is a Spanish language channel that is called Canal Profético, La Voz del Señor, and that's here on YouTube. You can also find it on BitChute, Rumble, and Brighteon. And I have quite a few social media. If you use Facebook, you're welcome to look up the Master's Voice and then give the page a follow. I often put updates there. I put clips there. I put sometimes occasional teaching there. So if you are a Facebook user, look for the Master's Voice, not the Master's Voice Prophecy blog. It's just called the Master's Voice, and you'll recognize the lion and lamb logo, blue backdrop, and the page is growing. So go on over there, and you're welcome to follow there or on my TikTok. All that information is below. If you're a TikTok user, you can follow on TikTok, and then when I put up the videos, a lot of people download them and they re-upload them on their channels or they share them, and in that way more people can come to know about what the word of the Lord is here. I know a lot of people think that this is a big channel, but I am thinking in terms of the population that we have here, which is well over 330 million people, 200,000 people following, and half of them aren't even tuned in or listening. It's not as big a flex as people think. If people were to pick up the mind of Jesus Christ, which is that the Lord is assessing us for our eternal dwelling place, Jesus Christ is actually He's weighing every life right now, whether you are aware of it and you still talk the way you talk, you still have the same expression that you've had all your life. Oh, well, how do we know this is God? You're going to find out that it's God pretty soon. But in the interim, wise people are preparing themselves. I've shared quite a few prophecies here where I've said that I've seen people in dreams when it was coming towards the time where the Lord was judging, which is the time that we're in now. You're already seeing some people get their judgments really early. I said that I saw people frantically, very few of them, but at least they were doing it. They were taking off everything that they were wearing. They went down to their underwear and they were washing their robes. They were cleansing their robes in this red liquid, washing them in preparation of what? Because the earth was getting ready to welcome first the judgments of the Lord and then welcome the Lord himself. The Lord is not coming prior to the judgments. The judgments come first. Read your Bible. Revelation is very clear. Matthew 24, very clear. Revelation 6, very clear. So I saw people preparing, but that number is very small. Most people are in a very relaxed posture. Can you imagine? I was just going back over my video library of the last not the last 2 months. I would say from the beginning of the year until now. You hear God saying, for instance, that the conflict in the Middle East is going to spread. Contrary to what the experts are saying, the Lord is saying that that thing is going to become a powder keg. It's going to become a worldwide problem for everybody. And people are still laid back and having discussions. Well, so be it. The prophecy for today is very brief, but it's linked into a series of prophecies that I'm going to try and cover today for clarity. Most of them are related to New York City. So these are prophecies against New York City, prophecies about New York City. And some of them relate to things that are happening in the underground part of New York City. Basically, this is behind the scenes, such that this city is going to receive to itself a very terrible judgment in the future, And at the background of that judgment, behind it all is money. So to those who are outside, America looks like a country to you, but to those who live here and are awake, not asleep, and still not fooled by the American dream, to that small minority that lives here, America is actually a corporation. America is a business that once used to be run so excellently. But the problem with all businesses is that eventually stocks start to lose value. No brand new products are being offered. It's the same old hackneyed daily operations. And eventually the people who own the business get bored and they start to think, how can I get rid of this business and still have money? So some people might sell the business off, but the risk with selling a business off that does not have much inherent value, that is value on the books and even value for owning it. The problem with selling off a business like that is that if the investor or the buyer is wise by any means, that person will think, well, Sears used to be a household American name. Toys R Us used to be a household American name. Red Lobster used to be a household American name. But now you guys are not doing so well. You've fallen upon hard times. People hardly shop anymore with you guys. People aren't interested in brick and mortar stores that much. They prefer online shopping and this and that. And so when a business loses value on the books, you'd have to be a fool or you'd have to be a fan to buy that business. And so some people, when they have a business that still has some value in it, tend to burn it down to the ground. They want to torch it and then get the insurance money. And America is part 2. America is group 2. America wants to, those who secretly run the country from the back want to torch the country so that they can get every single drop of value that she has in her, including looting the available treasuries of this nation and then leaving the people to stagger, weep, and crash and burn under what will be one of the worst economic crises the United States has ever seen. America is going to have one of the greatest economic crashes in living record, meaning that if the other people don't also crash and burn with us, we are actually going to become one of the best finance, money, and math object lessons in history after what is going to happen here. America is going to go back to 1933. You have heard multiple prophecies to that effect. I will leave some of them in the description box, such as nothing but scattering. That was a live prophecy prayer call, about 28 minutes, I think, of just God talking about how the U.S. economy is going to go up in smoke and take most of the unwise EU countries with it. The prophecy for today from Underground, June the 5th, 2019. This prophecy is 5 years old. And here we go. June the 5th, 2019 at 9:58 a.m. The Lord gave me this Bible verse that I'll now read for you. A distressing vision is declared to me. The treacherous dealer deals treacherously, and the plunderer plunders. Isaiah 21, verse 2, part A, meaning the top part of the verse. I'll read it again. A distressing vision is declared to me. The treacherous dealer deals treacherously, and the plunderer plunders. Isaiah 21 and verse 2. And so Isaiah is basically saying here that the Lord has shown me a picture. The Lord has shown me a very devastating vision or sign. The sign is this: those who are treacherous deal treacherously, and those who plunder, plunder. Those who are treacherous deal treacherously, and those who are plunderers, plunder. And so Isaiah is basically speaking here of a nation that God is showing him is going to be routed from within, a nation that's going to be eaten up from within, a nation who, no matter who comes against her in her future, to fight her externally, to cause wars, to bring outside aggression to her, by the time those people come, this nation will already be gasping on its knees and choking from internal factors that are going to greatly humble it. And so hear the word of the Lord. O New York City, the hand of the betrayer is against you. The hand of the betrayer is against you, O greatest of cities. From underground, you will be attacked. From underground, the betrayer strikes. From underground, you are undermined. Even so, it is determined. You have seen it portrayed in your movies. From beneath, you are destroyed. Come, the hour is at hand. And this prophecy is connected to another one that I did a long time ago called The Betrayer Betrays, but I will go over that one briefly for context just after this. And so the word is against New York City, and the Lord is saying that the hand of the betrayer is against New York City. Therefore, America has, or New York City has, an enemy that is seeking to cause harm. And God says, the hand of the betrayer is against you, O greatest of cities. From underground you will be attacked. From underground is where the betrayer strikes. From underground you are undermined, and even so, it is determined. You've seen it in your movies. From beneath you are destroyed. Come, the hour is at hand. And this prophecy is 5 years old, which is one of the things that people who may be new to prophecy or people who don't actually spend much time studying prophecy should understand. All prophecy is breathed by the Holy Spirit. Jesus Christ is indeed the spirit of prophecy. And so no one prophesies except the Lord himself has revealed an event, a situation, a circumstance, or a coming time to that person. You can't just pick up and prophesy because you want to. However, listen to the way the Lord speaks. He will say, come, the hour is at hand. And someone who read this prophecy on the blog will then be sitting and waiting for something to happen in New York City. Meanwhile, we're here in New York City living life 5 whole years, because June the 5th, 2024 has already passed. 5 full years have passed since this prophecy was spoken. And people should understand that when prophecy is spoken by God, the prophecy is already active. The reason that the prophecy comes is because God has already seen the event. He's already seen the event, that the event will happen. So when he speaks it, the prophecy is active and it's making its way to its inevitable conclusion. It's going to get there when God says it should get there. The benefit for the listeners of the prophecy, what you're supposed to do is, the first thing is that you're supposed to be spending time with God in prayer, especially if the prophecy is one of mayhem or death. Hearing that a destroyer is going to destroy from underground is indeed a prophecy of mayhem and harm, determined by one who God is saying is going to come from beneath. Is going to come from beneath. Those of you who have small children who still run around under your legs, and pets who still run around under your legs, and Legos that can be left on the ground, know what it is to have an unpleasant surprise from beneath. But this prophecy is talking about the fact that New York City is going to get a strike that takes place underground, literal underground strike that is going to take place most likely in the train systems of this city. We're one of the few cities that have an excellent metro station. You do not need a car in New York City. You're fine with the bus and the train system. It's so efficient. It works on time most of the time. And you can basically get to every part of this city without having to own a vehicle. But God is saying that the betrayer is betraying New York City. And the greatest of cities is going to have an underground attack. And God is talking about something, a negative event, some kind of big event that's going to take place under the ground. Now, if you've been listening to a few of the other prophecies that involve New York City, you will know that I've done prophecies such as New York, are you ready? There's prophecies on the blog like that, like New York, are you ready? And basically that prophecy was asking New York, are you ready for a secondary disaster? Are you ready for another 9/11? Basically, are you ready for something else on that scale? And I've been saying here for a long time that America is going to once again see what a false flag looks like. America is going to once again suffer a devastating event that is going to be 100% homegrown. So Osama and Saddam are no longer here to be the new patsies. I don't know who they could possibly bring up for the next thing that they're going to do. But one thing about the boys, they do not run out of cat's paws. I'm sure they will come up with someone and throw some group of people's passports into the burning flames, and they will not be consumed. And then the passports will be there to tell us exactly who did it. I can tell you who did it. America is the home of the incoming false flags, because false flags are how the U.S. government is going to completely shatter and discombobulate the psyche of the American people, because the American people respond best on a terror setting. If you're kind to the American people, if you help them to build wealth, if you help them to do whatever, then they're just too free and independent. But when you control them with bombings and staged attacks and make sure that you pinpoint enemies that don't look anything like them, skin color wise, language wise, religion wise, you have a hit on your hands, because the xenophobia and the fear phobia and the Islamophobia will come together and coalesce into this frothy cocktail of they did it. And then the government is just free to run interference at the back, running their masquerade, pulling off their scams while the people chant for blood and war. Time and tested formula. People much older than myself know that this scam has been running through multiple wars in this country. Wars always happen with a pretext. So it should not be surprising for God to say that America is going to go into a literal period of time, this will be, with false flags happening all over. And God has said that the false flags we're looking at go all the way from active shooter drills, where they'll make the kids run, heart pounding, the children go under a tree or wherever they go. And then they say, it was a false alarm, we got a false letter. It's going to go all the way from that to active shooter drills where they will actually shoot some children. They will shoot some children. So you will see some actual blood on the scenes of these, because false flags will not move this country into the new world order unless we see real blood. So the old false flags, that the boomers were putting together, they're not as convincing as now, because we all have cell phones and the people are enlarging things and saying, look, that's the foot of a duck. This is false. And so they need to be able to get over that. And the most convincing way to do it is to simply actually have casualties. So America in Tumult, A Nation in Tumult, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 covers all of that. I will try to leave that in the description box for you. God says that the false flags are going to be top tier because, unfortunately, the government will actually kill people. The government has contracted people, young people, and put them up in hotels and things like that to build bombs for that time, because these young men are brilliant. Maybe they catch you, you're a hacker, and they offer you a 40-year sentence, or say that you can hack the bank for us, or do this or do that. The young people are going to pick the crime every time because they were criminals before they were caught. Anyway, so young people will be building these bombs, skilled, not always young. They could be veterans from the armies, munitions people. They will be building these bombs, and they will be assisting the government in these false flags. So it's going to go from the active shooter drill with nothing, the active shooter drill with casualties. It's going to go to bomb scares in offices with nothing, bomb scares in offices with bombs, all the way up to the acts of Mr. Timothy McVeigh. It's going to go all the way up to the Oklahoma bombing here in the United States. Buildings are going to be blown out, hundreds of people harmed, and God says that the government will be doing that to bring about instability in the country, because they are getting ready to put the new world order in place. And in order to do that, the people have to be scared so that they can agree to more draconian and overarching and controlling laws. And so this attack on New York City here that is going to come from underground is just one of the false flags that will be taking place. America, you're going to see New York City once again in distress. And God says that you've seen it portrayed in your movies. From beneath you are destroyed. So there might be movies with train explosions, or it might actually just be, some of these old movies have pretty good representations of events that ostensibly America's enemies does to them. But then later on in the movie, someone will say, so who was behind this all along? And then the person says, well, actually, we just had to pin it on Iraq, but we needed to get this and that done in Congress. I know that I've seen at least one movie like that. It's called The Long Kiss Goodnight. The Long Kiss Goodnight. What a shock to watch that movie years after they made it and see that thing in there and think, wow, imagine. So God is absolutely right. Not all American movies are righteous, and some of them are not easy to listen to, but this movie has that. Another movie that you might be interested to look at when it talks about how the government is planning to do these things is called, just a moment, please. So a movie that kind of gives insight into one of the ways that the government plans to definitely cause separation in the population, which you've always heard about, that the wealthy will be taken care of and the people in power will be taken care of. They've never really hidden that from us. Whenever you see these movies of existential threats, the president always has a bunker to go to, and the vice president and all the people in the higher echelons of power. But sometimes when they're showing movies with a more futuristic destruction theme, then they show you this odd selection process whereby they decide which musicians will live and they decide who is valuable enough to society. to make it into the new society that will start up again after the whole world is destroyed. So these interesting themes, we've been paying money for them for multiple years, and yet they actually show quite openly what is intended for the people, not only of this nation, but of the whole world. And so this underground prophecy is simply a prophecy of a strike that is going to happen underground in New York City. There's going to be some kind of large event, some kind of false flag event, some kind of something that will take place. And the other prophecy that is linked to it, so you can hear, you've seen it in your movies, and from underground, from beneath, you are destroyed. So this is speaking of a physical event that is going to rock New York City. And if I can just dovetail briefly into another prophecy whose cover is this gold bullion. It's called The Betrayer Betrays. And the Lord gave me this prophecy 2 days after the other one. So the other one was June the 5th, 2019. And then this one, The Betrayer Betrays, is June the 7th, 2019. And again, the same title banner scripture is used. A distressing vision is declared to me. The treacherous dealer deals treacherously, and the plunderer plunders. So this scripture is basically saying that someone who does not have clean dealings will never have clean dealings. It says the treacherous dealer deals treacherously. So this scripture is basically saying that someone who does not deal in a straight manner is never going to deal in a straight manner. It says the treacherous dealer. That is actually a descriptive term. It's telling you who are we identifying here. It is someone who uses backdoor methods, backdoor means, not clean means. This person is never upfront. That is who we're talking about here. And then it says he deals treacherously, which means he has a MO. He's true to a certain way of doing things, and you can always expect him to do that way. The same thing with the plunderer. A plunderer is one who comes and roots through what belongs to others and takes away what does not belong to that person. That is basically a thief. A plunderer is one who comes upon wealth, belongings, resources, whatever the case may be. Even human beings in recent history or past history, we had people who would go to other continents and plunder all the resources, all the riches, including the people, and then take them off to their places. So a plunderer is one who goes through goods and things that don't belong to him and then plunders. So Isaiah is basically saying, what I'm seeing is that the wicked will continue being wicked and the thieves will continue being thieves. And so this 2019 June prophecy is basically saying that the Lord gave more information about the event that will hit New York City. And what I saw is that during the time that that event happens, there's going to be looting of national treasures. And I was standing basically outside where they keep the bullion bars here in the United States. I think the Fed, the Reserve, it has a building definitely here in New York City. And I was standing by that building in a vision because all this, I wasn't sleeping. I was standing there by a tunnel or a bridge, standing by that building, and I was watching, and the Lord was there, and the Lord pointed, and I saw an armored truck come hurtling around the corner, almost the way they do it in the cartoons, when the car is going so fast that it's almost tipping on two wheels. I saw an armored truck come across the corner like that, and then I saw that men moved quickly and they went around the back of this building. Now, this building in New York City is a very imposing building, and it's covered with very heavy, thick black bars. It's a signature of this building. I really do think that it's a branch of the Fed here in the city. So the signature of that building is that it's covered with very heavy black bars this way and also this way. It literally looks like the building is in jail. And these men got out and they went around the back of that building and they moved to the door of that building, and there were men already in that building bringing them a very precious and heavy cargo, and it was sacks of rough material, so it looked like burlap or sackcloth. And they took it around the back, and as they were putting the sacks in the truck, one of the sacks fell open, and I saw that it had actual bullion bars in it. And these men were loading the truck and quickly stacking the gold with some kind of soft cloth, some kind of velvet in between all the bars so that they would not scratch during transport. And then they shut that heavy door and they drove off just as fast, and the vision disappeared. And I knew in my heart, by the wisdom of God, that they were taking that gold. Those men were not robbing that gold. They were actually taking the gold to go and deliver it to the rich people in America. So God is saying that at the time that the nation is in distress, America, here, the announcement that I'm making in your hearing, hear the prophecy, economic woes. But God says that the economic woes are of a contrived nature. They're actually fake. Stock market crash. But God says that the stock market crash is orchestrated. Hear the words of the Lord. I am saying to you, the betrayer, this is the Lord. He says, I am saying, your betrayer has put his hand in the bowl with you, America. You have broken bread with him because he is your brother whom your own mother bore, the friend walking with you on the path. He encouraged you to follow the American dream, but his pathway to wealth is very different from yours. Behold, he undermines you from within. Your treasury is looted, your hard-earned money will be taken, and you will hear that it is a stock market crash response as a result of the terrifying incident that will take place. This is the revelation of the Lord. And so God is basically saying that there's going to be a devastating event that takes place here in New York City. And when that event happens, one of the things that's going to happen is some kind of heist, some kind of robbery that comes from this reserve building in the city that's actually holding bars or money or something like that. Or it could even be that that reserve place is not here in the city. It could not be the one that's here in New York. It could easily be the one that's in Fort Knox or wherever it is, that they have these bars, contrary to what people think. Oh, America came off the gold standard. There's no bullion here. There's plenty of gold here. Just because you don't get to see it doesn't mean that it's not here. There's just no gold for you. You just have to buy the penny dime gold. But the bar ones, the rich people know where that stuff is. Some of them are propping up their Manolo heels on those bars for fun. Remember that there is a closed club of upper echelon royalty that is much higher than the rappers and the stars and the Serena Williams and the people that people think are the wealthy people. These people are just kind of like movie previews. They put them there for you to look at. The real money in this country, the Lord has revealed since 2022 that if the son of one of the people who own the whole of Vermont comes out and goes to the mall in a t-shirt with holes at the neck, you would never know how much that boy is worth. He's 19 years old. And he's worth the entire state of Vermont. He's the only son of whoever, and he's going to get all that money. Yet that boy could walk into Chuck E. Cheese with his little sister, and you wouldn't know who they are. And God says that because true money in America doesn't show its face. Poor money in America is very loud. See my Lamborghini and see my this and that. Money in this country. Silent money. God says that the great-grandfather of the silent money has never taken a photo ever since he was young, before he became great-grandfather. And so he says their faces are lost to history. Their faces are lost to time. True wealth in America does not court publicity. They don't give interviews. Nobody knows their faces. Only their servants and their circle of friends know their faces. And the servants are buried under a mountain of NDAs. So we don't know who they are. You've heard this in many of the prophecies, such as the princess of Babylon, where God says that if America actually knew who is responsible for her financial problems, it's not Janet Yellen and the other man. These are just paid stooges. God says that if you actually knew who's responsible for the poverty of the United States, you'd be shocked. You'd be utterly shocked, because he says it's not the people that you think it is. So for all we know, it might not be the Vanderbilts and the Rothschilds and all the names that are out there. It could easily be that there's an even higher level than we've been allowed to find out. Never forget that the people in power are masters of spin. Imagine if you think you're woke, and then the wokeness that you have is simply what they have leaked into various blogs and leaked into various places to throw you off the scent. These are centuries old families that are used to dealing with Satan. You're nothing to fool. Honestly. And so God says that your betrayer put his hand in the bowl with you, America. This is from the prophecy that is linked to the first one. The first one is called From Underground, and this one is called The Betrayer Betrays. When someone puts their hand in the bowl with you, this is a picture of Jesus when he was speaking at the Last Supper. And the disciples, the ones who were closer to him, I think this was Peter and John, and they were asking him, what does he mean by the things that we are saying? And he's saying that he said that his betrayer is one who dips his hand in the bowl with him, meaning that this is someone with whom Jesus had spent time. It is someone with whom Jesus had broke bread. He said that one who dips his hand in the bowl with me, meaning that it's communal eating, communal living. We are like brothers, but it is from among this band of brothers that I'm going to be betrayed. And so the Lord is basically saying here that Americans are going to be betrayed by Americans. You have broken bread with him because he is your brother whom your own mother bore, the friend walking with you on the path. So this is actually someone who is an American like the Americans that is going to destroy the economy, not one someone. This is a band of someone's. And God is saying that it's basically like your own brother where you share one mother, but that person who is like a brother that comes from the same mother, that person like a friend walking with you on the same life path, is the architect of the destruction that is being prophesied here. And God is also saying something that is very key for people to understand. He says, he, speaking of the treacherous dealer who deals treacherously, the plunderer who plunders, he encouraged you to follow the American dream, but his pathway to wealth is very different from yours. And behold, he undermines you from within. So God is pointing out here something that Americans are told almost from the beginning of life, which is this is a great country. This is a country that has everything set up for you to be successful. This is a country where anyone can make it. And that encapsulated belief system is what we call the American dream. But the American dream is not real. In reality, this is a nation of very deeply embedded class systems. This is a nation of very divergent viewpoints. This is a nation where the thought of the day can be strongly pushed off the center mark simply by lobbying, simply by special interests, simply by bringing money and other types of temptations on the table, or simply by wielding power, by threats. We'll expose you for this, expose you for that. Justice is often abrogated in this country. It is not as balanced as it is promoted to others. And God is saying that in addition to that, those who push the American dream to the American people, this is your talking heads, this is the media, this is authority figures, this is coming directly from leadership itself and also coming from the unseen hand of rulership behind the throne of power. God says that they take a very different pathway to wealth. And you've heard that pathway discussed in a prophecy such as Underwater. I think Underwater is from late 2022. And in that prophecy, God was taking a very in-depth look at the stock market of the United States and showing how it's run by insider trading. It's run by some kind of coupon that the people in the know have. There is some kind of coupon whereby they can buy stocks at a greatly reduced rate. And so they're able to gobble up a lot of the percentages of the available companies for way less money than an ordinary person would be able to, because they have this kind of coupon that allows them to get access to bundles and much lower prices. So these are things that I really don't know about in depth, but I'm always faithful to relate my dreams. And what I'm speaking about with this coupon is definitely something that people who know about the stock market more than I do know, that there is some kind of coupon, and when you sign it, you can then use it when making online purchases, and then they will redeem the coupons by numbers, and you can buy a lot more. For instance, if a stock costs $10, with a coupon, it can go down to as low as $2. Now, if a stock costs $10 for one, and you have $100, that means that you should only be able to get 10. But if the price drops to $2, you can get multiples more than you would have been able to afford with your $100. So that is part of the leg up advantages that God says undermines the lie of the American dream. He says that you're pushed to believe in yourself and work hard and trust the system and it will work for you. And that's what they call the American dream. But it's only the American dream for ordinary people. There is another American dream that works around subterfuge and theft and who you know and influence and all kinds of ways of climbing your way to the top. And that is what God says is undermined the country from within. And so this prophecy was also simply saying that when America suffers this massive blow, they're going to dramatize it on TV, on the news. It's going to be like investors are, well, they're not happy, Bob. This was just a bolt from the blue. Such an unexpected blow. Massive losses across securities and bonds, housing, gold, just so many casualties being reported in the market at this time. I don't know what to tell you, but this event has just stolen so much confidence out of the market. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like this, and I don't know if we're going to recover. So this is what they're going to do, because the news is just movies, and those who are grown and those who can hear what God has been saying on this channel for a long time know that this is just play acting to drive particular themes and narratives forward. But God was showing me here that this theft that I've mentioned, this robbery from the place where they keep the gold, and I guess the gold-backed securities, I don't know what they are, but just the place where they keep the actual tangible money, that they're going to rob it and take it to their houses. And that is actually what is going to leech all the confidence out of the market. It's not going to be because of this false flag that will take place in New York City that America suddenly suffers a jolt big enough to cause our economy to start sliding down into decline. No, it's going to be because of a massive theft that will be going on movie style at the same time. And so you have heard two prophecies. For one, the betrayer betrays, June the 7th, 2019, and the other one is from Underground, June the 5th, 2019. I am Celestial, and this is the Master's Voice. You can follow the Master's Voice on various social media. I do have a Facebook. You are welcome to follow me there. And it is called the Master's Voice, so not the Master's Voice Prophecy blog. Just look for the Master's Voice on Facebook, and then you can follow the page. Make sure that you only follow the page that has the right number of subscribers. The scammers are scamming their lives away. So there are multiple false pages that are pretending to be the Master's Voice, but on mine you will see the logo, you will see the backdrop, and you will see the right amount of followers. I think there's 90,000 followers so far. So you can head on over there and show your support. You can also follow me on TikTok. There's only one Master's Voice TikTok, and you can also see, I think the followers are maybe 170. So don't follow a page that has 3 people or even 300 people. You will be able to know, because there's quite a few people that are on the ministry, and God is bringing these people so that these people, unbeknownst to them, can hear the truth and can begin to work on their personal faith with God. No one is navigating the kind of things that I'm talking about with mental assent. It is not by your mind that you are going to navigate what I'm speaking about. It is only by placing your trust absolutely in the Lord Jesus Christ, by confessing that you are a sinner, and by asking the Lord to forgive you for your sins and to bring you back to himself, so that you can begin to cultivate a relationship that is strong enough to withstand the storms that are coming. I am Celestial, and this is the Master's Voice. Until I see you again, God bless you, and goodbye.